Hello, hello. Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Torie here with another episode of Be Victorious. Now, let me share with you guys something. This sister here is my sister for real. I did her podcast and we've developed a bond ever since. I think our commonality, of course, is our childhood experiences. And I am here to basically let you all know that she's doing what she needs to do and heal. And she has some projects that she has done. But it's my pleasure to bring her here. Leah, where are you?
Hey girl, hey, what's going on, Dr.
Hey,
Torie?
girl. Man, this has been a long time coming. I'm super proud of you, though.
Thank
And I think
you.
people need to know we met because I did your podcast
Yeah.
first. And we've actually developed a bond and have been communicating and working with each other ever since. And you have some wonderful things that are going with you. And I'm so excited because, again, the goal you guys is for people to understand and know that ACEs is okay, but we live and move and live to
Yeah.
see another day. And this is what Leah has done, you guys. She's a beast. And I'm telling you, I cannot wait to hear her story. So before we begin, Leah, what's your ACEs score?
Oh, I let me tell you, and it's so funny because I was like, watch Dr. Torie ask me this. So I could tell you for a fact it is over 5. What it is
And that's
exactly,
fine.
I can't give you
But
the
that's
exact number, but I know it's
okay.
over 5.
You got a score.
I got a score.
So do you let your score define you?
In the beginning, yes. Before I started healing and all of that, I absolutely thought that my score was exactly who it was me. And then I went on a healing journey and realized that it didn't have to define me. It was just a part of my journey. So
Very good. How long ago was that?
oh, how long have I been on this journey of healing? I would say probably for the last 7 years. I've been on my healing journey, Dr. Torie.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
started probably late 20s,
Okay.
after coming out of a domestic violence relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
really started to like unpack like why I was attracted to this person in the first place. Cause like I always tell people he was like the walking red flags, like literally every red flag you would think of, that was who he was. But yet I was attracted to him. And I will tell you what drew us together was a trauma bond because he came from a similar background as me. So I am the
Mm-hmm.
daughter of 2 addicts. He was the son of 2 addicts. So immediately it was like, oh my God, you're my person because you understand my trauma, right? Not realizing
Mm-hmm.
that that was codependency in its finest form, like not understanding that that was a trauma bond. Like in my mind, we were a match made in heaven because you understood the pain of being abandoned by 2 drug addicts.
Wow. Two drug addicts, mom and dad, did they live together?
Nope, wasn't married, had multiple kids. Yep, daddy got 2 baby mamas. My mama had a few baby daddies. Yep.
Hmm. But you did not let that define you at all.
Yeah, no. No. In fact, I will tell you this. I think my parents were, and I know my parents were the inspiration as to not becoming them. So like I saw their lives and was like, I am determined to not be them. So that is
Mm-hmm.
why I like went to school, got the education, did all the right things because I was like, nope, won't be me. I'm not gonna end up like my parents.
And I think, but that was our commonality too. You know what I mean? Not knocking our parents, love them to death, their mate, but we did not want to be like them.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that I discovered when we did your podcast. So I get it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to bring up what you said, the walking red flags. I don't think that people understand yet that ACEs can impact relationships.
Oh
And
yeah.
we've talked about it. There was a young lady Miss Queenie, she's has the relationship zone. She talks about it. She still goes on live. She still does it. You know what I mean? Like it really does. I think finding out about ACEs can really help save lives.
Yeah.
Because once you understand what it is, you can do something about it. So you found out about the red flags with the boo thing. What happened?
Yeah. I wish I could say like once I found out, like I left, but I didn't. Like I stayed and I was with that person for at least 4 years. And I mean, he was like heavy into, at that time in our relationship, he had started doing drugs himself, right? Like he was heavy into drug activity. And so it was just like watching my parents all over again. And I remember like the last time we got into a physical altercation where he put his hands on me, I remember barricading myself into the bedroom because we had shared an apartment at the time. And I prayed. I was like, all right, God, I don't know if you hear me. I don't know if you're gonna answer this prayer or not. But I need you to get me out of this situation. And if you get me out of this situation, I promise you, I'm gonna serve you with my life. And so literally the very next morning, he woke up from his high and he was like, get out. And I knew then, I was like, oh, God is real. One, two, he hears my prayers. And three, here's my way of escape. And so, like, literally, I just grabbed whatever I could. I called my aunt. She came and got me. And, like, I left and never looked back. But I, again, not knowing like ACEs and trauma bonding and all that, I just was like, oh, here's somebody that understands my pain. And so let's be together, knowing that that was a terrible mistake.
But you learned from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the understanding of ACEs, shall I say?
Yeah. I think for me, that was the start of kind of figuring out like why I was attracting these type of people. What was it about this person, that really had me diving into my own healing journey? And I will say I was in college at the time. And I remember taking a psychology course where ACEs was probably the first time I even heard of it. Because before it was adverse childhood experiences, it was childhood trauma. Like that's what they were calling it.
Right.
So I
And
always
they
knew
still
that.
do.
Yeah, that's
They
all I
still
knew
do.
for was childhood trauma. And so once I started learning and going through the ACEs score, it sparked something in me to be like, okay, let me peel back the layers on this and really figure out how this has me showing up, not just in like relationships with a significant other, but even my friendships. Like I struggled having friendships with females for a very long time. And it was all connected to my trauma and the abandonment issues and my mother-daughter wounds and all of that. So yeah.
Look at all the worksheets I'm gonna get from this podcast. Because you are correct. But it takes for us to have the discussion for people to understand and know, number one, it's relatable. Number two, you're not alone. And number three, if God brings you to it, he can bring you through it. That's what you just said. And I don't want to turn this into, what it is, but that's your testimony.
Yeah.
And look at you now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because those are the things that you have to think and look back on and reflect and say, yeah, I asked, he gave me what I was supposed to get. And now you know what not to do.
Yeah.
Parents, do you still talk to your parents?
So both of my parents have since transitioned. And I wasn't talking to neither one of them when they did. And it was so weird because I remember even when my father got like getting the call that he had passed, what was so interesting was that I found it hard to grieve. And my therapist said something so profound to me. She was like, Leah, it's hard to grieve something you never had.
Ooh.
And I didn't realize that that's why I was struggling, because it was like, well, he's my dad, like I should feel something, right? But I felt nothing for a very long time because it was like, yeah, he was physically my father, but he wasn't my father. Like, there was no real emotional bond and a connection. unless he was paying for something. Like, and
Right.
even that is something that shaped my relationships for a long time too, because my father wasn't emotionally available, but he was financially available. And so if I look at my pattern of relationships up until a couple of years ago, I went after the guy who could financially take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But what I
Mm-hmm.
learned from my father was that if I'm financially taking care of you, then you have to turn a blind eye to all my stuff. So I
Right.
couldn't go to my dad and be like, Daddy, I don't like that you drink. Because in his mind, girl, I'm giving you money. Shut up. You don't get to tell me about my issues. And that's the same
Mm-hmm.
pattern that played out in other relationships. It was like, if I'm taking care of you financially, you don't get to come and talk to me about my demons. So yeah.
And that's real talk. Because at the end of the day, that's how you felt.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, and everybody has their own story. Um, yeah. I of course I'm gonna say I get it because I truly do. I
Yeah.
mean, I, I have my father, love my father. He's amazing, but you know, it it is what it is, and I get it. But I used you have to use that to build,
Mhm.
and it's hard. It's
Mhm.
hard because we're understanding our childhood traumas, we're understanding our aces, and society wants things to be okay when it's us that's going through this. What society has is one thing, but what we have is this. If you didn't have a relationship with your father, you didn't have a relationship with your father. Did the family like understand that? Did they support that, or was they like, no, Leah, no?
So it's so funny because I was raised with my maternal grandmother, right? And she kept my father away from me for many, many years. So I didn't actually start developing a relationship with my father until I was in my 20s. And at
Oh
that
wow.
time, I was coming out of that abusive relationship. And I just remember going to my grandmother and I was like, Grandma, I think it's time that I learn more about my dad and where he came from. And, she gave me her blessing. And I reached out to his mother and really started to get an understanding of his history. And so it wasn't until I had that other piece of the puzzle where I learned that my dad had his own trauma. His father was killed when he was a child. He started drinking way early. My father started drinking when he was like 10, 11 years old,
Mm-hmm.
so he had his
Mm-hmm.
own trauma. And then you tack on his trauma with, I'm trying to have, a family, can't stay committed to a woman, right? Because he bounced back and forth between my mother and his other children's mother. And, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things played a role as to why he just couldn't be emotionally available. And then you tack on prison. My father stayed in and out of prison. So the last time he came home, I was about 25 years old. And I remember how he struggled just to be in the world. Like, my father couldn't even sit at a kitchen table and eat dinner together. Like, he was so used to being in that 4x5 cell that
Right.
mentally that's where he was, physically that's where he was, and he didn't know how to adjust. So all
Right.
of those things played a huge role as to why he had all, three girls and just didn't know how to show up for them, didn't know how to
Right.
be there for them.
Right. And that's us. That's our society. That's what we're living right now. So just imagine all the people that are out there in the world right now that don't even know that. And I think that was my issue. Again, what I tell people ACEs saved my life is because I went through the same thing. Um, Household dysfunction is our family lived in household dysfunction. So, it was one thing. And I used to blame what happened on my parents when really they had their own generational trauma and came in with generational trauma from their
Mhm.
parents. So it's like, okay, I think that understanding will help a lot of people if they even at least understand that. So see how you explain your father's beforehand, you didn't even know that. And
Mhm.
so just conversations, sit down, talks, those would be so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like those conversations helped me humanize my parents. Because I think as a young girl, I kind of saw my parents as
Right.
these like perfect people, right? Like they can't do no wrong. They were kind of like superheroes to
Right.
me. And it wasn't until I had those conversations that
Right.
really humanized them. And I was like, oh wow, my dad is just another man trying to navigate this thing called life with whatever tools he was given. My mom, the same. She's another woman just trying to navigate this thing called life with the tools that she was given. And so having those
Right.
conversations, really understanding history, familiar history, which I think is so important, does play a role in how you can begin to unpack your own aces, because then it makes sense like, okay, that a lot of the stuff that I'm dealing with is generational.
Yep.
It literally was passed down. Like grandma
Yep.
dealt with it, great grandma dealt with it. And so I always say I'm now at the point where like the generational curse stops with me. So it's
Right.
like I'm the generational curse breaker, because I refuse to continue to pass down the dysfunction. Cause like you said, I lived in household dysfunction too. Like,
Right.
and it became so normal until you're on your healing journey and you realize like this is not normal. Like the
Right.
arguing, the bickering, the physical violence, this is not normal. And so you start to then create spaces where you don't want to be around that. So then
You're
you
right.
distance yourself from family, and you don't connect as much because you're like, that, you kind of still in the place of dysfunction. I'm over here in Healingville, and I just don't want that.
Right. I respect that. And here you are, Leah Forney doing her thing. So let's talk about some of the things that you're doing. I'm excited about this new venture. What do you
Thank
have
you.
going? You're welcome.
Girl, what am I doing? Honestly, 2023 has been like the year of the professional speaker for me. I've been blessed to be able to share a lot of my journey as a sexual assault thriver, like I love to call myself, because I always say there's a difference between surviving and thriving.
Hmm.
And so it's been great to like be having opportunities to speak on stages and do panels where I just share my sexual assault story in
Hmm.
hopes that it helps someone else on their journey, in hopes
Right.
that it helps spark some healing for someone else. Because what I find is that, there's amazing conferences out here, but a lot of times they want to talk about prevention, and there's nothing wrong with prevention. But then
Hmm.
I feel like it excludes a group of people who have already been victimized, right?
Right.
And so it's like, how do we continue to bring that part of the conversation into these spaces? And so I've been doing a whole lot of advocacy this year,
Good for you.
being a part of legislation conversations, getting some things changed on the books here in Maryland. And it's been a blessing. Like, I did not see this when I got
Hmm.
sexually assaulted 10
Hmm.
years ago. Nope,
Wow.
did not.
Hmm.
I didn't even see it a year ago. It just so
Wow.
happened that a year ago they finally tested my rape kit and they called
Mm.
me about it. And I
Wow.
remember just praying and saying to God, I was like, all right, God, if I have to redo this part of my journey, because I got sexually assaulted in 2013. So I'm like, if I
Hmm.
have to go through this again, how do I make this bigger? How do I
Right.
really make impact? And he led me down the path of like starting to partner with other organizations that were already doing the work,
Hmm.
because what's usually missing is the
Right.
survivor's voice, their story. And so I partnered with the Federal Coalition here in Maryland, and they have since brought me on as staff. So I now I work for them, but it started off as a partnership to really just train law enforcement and the attorney generals and give them a survivor's perspective. And so
Hmm.
it's been a blessing, because this year I got to go speak on Capitol Hill. Like
Right.
I got
Good for
to
you.
do conferences. And so it's just been amazing to see how something as painful and traumatic as sexual violence, God can literally use it to build a platform. Because I didn't think I would, build a platform from it, but here it is. And so I'm excited.
I'm proud of you.
Thank
Get it.
you.
Get it. Now I will tell you, I like Maryland on the strength that they accept aces.
Mhm.
Now I had a training with the police department with new police officers. And I'm like, are you all sure? And they was like, these people that you all are going to be arresting
Yeah.
have aces. So you need to know about it. So let her come in. It was 2.5 years ago, but nonetheless, I liked it. The fact that they were open to do it was humbling to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got a whole police, new officers ready for ACEs, and the word is getting out there. And again, for me, the goal is getting it out there. So make sure when you are on those panels and you are on that hill, you tell them about ACEs and how you survived and you did what you needed to do. Super proud of
Yeah.
you, man. I really am. It's one thing to go through what we go through, but I seriously do believe that the understanding of ACEs is what will not define you and help your healing journey.
Yeah,
What do you
I
do for
agree.
fun? What do you do for fun though?
Oh, what do I do for fun? Besides being a foodie, because I am a foodie, I love to go out to eat. My fun looks so different these days. I'm a bonus mom. I have some
Mhm.
incredible children, so they keep me busy. It's not that date night with the mister, going out and spending some quality time together. Definitely a good old nap. I tell people I'm at that age in my life where, naps are everything. I don't know why we was avoiding these as children, because
Uh-huh.
as an adult, I'm like, please give me 30 minutes. Thank you.
Right. I have
So,
a daughter that she does nothing but sleep, and I let her sleep because when I was her age, I did the same thing. My favorite pastime is taking a nap. I'm not, so I get it, baby. It'll change your life. Just give me 10 minutes. No, I get it. I
listen,
get it.
especially if you want me to come outside and I got to
Right.
stay out past a certain time, like you might want me to have this nap. So,
Right.
yeah, and really, I will say probably reading a good book. I've been like
Okay.
heavy on personal development lately, so
Okay.
I'm reading a whole lot of books. But and if I'm not doing that, it's watching some Ratchet television, somebody's reality show.
You know what I learned? Shout out to Dr. Thelma. We like Ratchet TV and we watch it because of our aces.
Oh, I believe it. Because I
Mm-hmm.
promise you, I'm heavy on the Ratchet. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm watching all
Uh-huh.
the Real Housewives. I'm
Yeah.
watching,
It's
like,
it's it's the dysfunction
mm,
and it's in tune with us. I promise you, you could look it up. Dr. Thelma put me on. Yes. And at first I was like, no, because I'm always watching First 48 or one of those type shows.
mm-hmm.
And she said it's related. I'm like, that is interesting. So I think that you're amazing. We went over your ACEs score. We
Thank
talked
you.
about your childhood traumas, your ACEs, shall I say. We talked about your healing journey. We talked about a boo thing and some bonus kids and the fact that you're about to take over the world. Leah, you're
Thank you.
amazing to me. And of course,
Thank
we're
you.
still going to be in contact and we're still going to communicate, but let people know where to find you.
Yeah, so I'm literally in all the social media streets as Leah M. Forney. You could just pull me up. I would always tell people check out the podcast, Hey Queen Thrive. We're going into our 4th season in January. So I'm super excited about that.
Yay.
And then I have a website, www.leahmforney.com. We're getting ready to go through a rebrand. So definitely stay connected for that because
Yes.
a lot of great things is coming. And yeah, but you can find me on the social media streets as leahmforney.com. I'm excited. So I wrote a book that's called Boss Women Pitch, and BOSS is BAWSE. It's an acronym for bold and ambitious women seeking exposure.
Very good.
And I wrote the book based on the 9 things that I did to help me go from this struggling, undiscovered author to now the in demand person you see today.
I like it.
And I'm super excited. Like, I think I get excited about all my books, Dr. Torie, but this one I'm super excited about because I feel like it's a framework. It gives people who really want, women entrepreneurs who are like, I really want more media attention. I want to get on the podcast. I want to do these things. These are the 9 steps that I did. And so
Mhm.
it'll come out January 30th, which is actually my birthday. And so I'm beyond excited about this book.
Not the book, you've motivated me. I know. So for people that follow me, yes, the book is coming. I am a procrastinator. I am a single mother of three. Let's be clear. I have it. It's ready. I just need to put it out there. So thank you for motivating me. Because I am. I have it done, I promise. And I'll make sure, because of course we're going to keep in contact, and I'll make sure that I do that. But I want to be a boss woman too, BAWSE. So I got you. Yay! Well, you guys know where to find me. I'm everywhere. Dr. VicTORIEus. Be victorious. Everywhere. I thank you guys for tuning in. And again, Leah, you're amazing. I thank you for having me on your podcast first and returning the favor, because you have been my sister and I appreciate you so much. And for everybody that's watching, thank you for tuning in. See you guys later. Bye-bye.